Hey everyone, and for those of you that are just joining us, I am Keisha Walker, the proud founder and chairwoman of the Black Collegiate Gaming Association. Thank you for 3 amazing breakout sessions. To those of you who had a chance to join the Economic Plus Opportunities in Gaming and Esports presented by GameStop, to Eric Bright with GameStop, who was our moderator, Corey Roseman, and to King Richard, we thank and appreciate you. For the second breakout session, the new STEM, which was presented by BCGA, which talked about sound, technology, engineering, and opportunities in media around gaming and esports, to Brandon Thompson at NASCAR, our moderator, to Cleve Adams, Jacqueline Beecham, who made history as one of the first African-American women to own a gaming studio in the United States, to Travis Williams and the Hip Hop Gamer, we salute and we thank and appreciate you. Your energy was amazing. And last but most certainly not least, to our family over at Xbox, what you really need to know about gaming in the Black and Xbox family, Marcus Morgan, who moderated, to Sierra McDonald, Melissa Aline, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Miles Anderson and Jason Mentors. We thank you. To everyone who's joined us today. We appreciate you coming out. We appreciate you spending your Saturday with us. We appreciate you making history with us during Black History Month. My heart is warmed. I am ecstatic about all the energy that we're seeing in all the different chat rooms, the conversations that are taking place, and networking that's happening. And a couple reminders I mentioned earlier. If you have any questions, or if there's something you're not sure about on our platform, feel free to visit our help desk. We have agents there available to assist you. We have polls available right now and throughout the day. So please, we'd love for you to rate what you thought about the breakout sessions that you were just in. We also would like to get your feedback and thoughts on the overall day, provide any suggestions on what you think. We'd like to understand where and what you're doing in the industry. In the chats, please don't hesitate to ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask. A closed mouth will never be fed. And if you don't ask, you won't know. And you've got the right people who are making the right decisions, and they're making the best moves at some of the biggest companies in the industry. These are successful entrepreneurs. These are major entertainers in the industry. And there's major corporate officials and executives here today. And they took time out on their Saturday. So don't be afraid to ask them the questions that matter to you, because you may not get this opportunity again in this calendar year. But we will see you again in 2022 on tour. Don't forget to visit our website, bcgausa.org. 24 hours a day, we have a jobs page available. You can go on there and find out about contract work, internship, and entry level, as well as career. If you're deciding in your career now you want to make a change, all that's available through our partner Hitmarker, who is the presenting partner of the Career Connections that they'll be coming up a little later this afternoon. Please follow us on social media at BCGA USA. Our Discord group is live right now. We've got hundreds of people in there right now talking. We salute, we thank, and we appreciate you. You can follow us across all of our social media at BCGA USA. That's at BCGA USA. Please tag us when you're making your posts and telling people about today. Please post a picture, a video, tell us what you think, and tag us at BCC21. Use the hashtag BCC21 or BCC. And then again, our handle at BCGA USA. We're going to be selecting some winners through your engagement on social media. We're also going to be pulling some winners out of our Discord group and the conversation dialogue going on in there. And we're going to be pulling some winners from our chats and our polls. So now, without further ado, and please don't forget to stay around to the end of the day. We save some of the best for last. You'll have a chance to get into mini breakouts with some of the best and brightest in the gaming industry. You'll have a chance to go into 4 smaller breakout sessions based on your area of interest with jobs and talk to them in a very small one-on-one area and find out about what, when, where, and how they got into industry. And they'll provide jewels similar to what you've been hearing all day. So now I'm super excited to present my titanium partner in our BCGA efforts and movement. They agreed to come on and make history with us. And she's on our advisory board. She's also on the advisory committee for BCC. Her, my super rock star, my Black woman magic, Davina.
Hi, Keisha. How are you?
The hair, yes. Give it to him.
How you doing?
I am super excited. I'm so blessed. I'm so humbled by the response. We had over 890 people register for today, and we could not have done it without you and the blacks at PlayStation, the
Ah,
SIE, Sony PlayStation. And I salute you all. And I'm so amazing about everything that's about to happen, what you all are going to do with us, from scholarships to education to mentorship, gaming and innovation labs. You believed in a new organization, and you're allowing us to bloom and to create some future contributors and future stars like you.
thank you so much, Keisha. You know, I am so just ecstatic about what you at BCGA has put on. And I'm so proud to be a partner and that we can support you in all the efforts that you are doing. I'm thrilled to just see all of the players in the industry supporting this event. It was great to see Travis Williams. It was great to see Carl Villardo and, many others. And, I'm just really excited about the opportunity to talk to the audience about the various ways that they can improve their potential in a career in video game and esports. And so, I'd like to get started. Today we're going to be talking about tech versus everybody. And I just want to introduce myself. I'm the director of support services and operations for Worldwide Studios Quality Assurance, and I'm also the president of Black at PlayStation. I've been at SIE now for going on 17 years. It'll be this year my 17th year, and I have to say the journey has been amazing. And what I'd like to do is to just go into why I'm so excited about the topic. Today, you'll be discussing essential ways that students can transition from being university students to career professionals. And I know the biggest concern for university students is, where will I work after I get out of school, right? Where will I land a job? And in order to land that perfect job after college, there's a roadmap that you have to follow. And so the information that you're going to hear today will give you insights into the shortest journey to reach your career goals and hopefully land a career in the video game and esports industry. And so there are three individuals that I have the pleasure to introduce you to. They have a plethora of experience, whether in programming or education or professional streaming on social media. So I'd like to start by giving our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. And let's start off with Dr. Katrina Starks.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Katrina Starks, and my background in games is a little bit different. I got into gaming because, well, I liked playing them. There's a short story about me accidentally using The Sims as a life coach. And then, so basically, if you played The Sims, there's little life meters on different activities, work, school, exercise, things like that. And one of them was social. And I was playing the game, and I made a little character that was like me. And then I realized that her social meter was always in the red, and that was her weakest point. And I realized that basically my social meter was always in the red. And so I realized that games could be something more than just a game. They could actually be informative. And I looked at research, and I ended up getting a master's degree in psychology with a gaming focus on using video games to foster health promoting behaviors. And then I got a PhD looking at girls' games and identity, looking at female protagonists and what are they doing? Is it a beauty game where she's just sitting there? Is it a service game where she's kind of a waitress or some sort of service person? Or is she going out on adventures, and how that affects the identity of people between the ages of 11 and 22 when we're actually forming identities? So as a researcher, I just wanted to let people know that's always an option. One of the amazing things going on right now is VR and AR. So there's a lot of research that needs to be done. We don't know how much screen time is optimal. We don't know how it affects children. We don't know how it affects their version of perception of reality. So there's a lot of opportunities to get into game research if you are not necessarily technically inclined for programming.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Caitlin. I think that's really interesting. The perspective of the researcher and how it applies to the video game industry. Javon or Rasta La Vista, can you please give us an introduction about yourself?
Yes, love to. So my name is Javon McLeod. I best go by my online persona as Roswell Visa. I'm a Facebook streamer, partner Facebook streamer. I've been streaming for the past 2 years. I'm also 8 years active duty military. So, I deal with the balance, not only being a black man in the military, but also, a, a well respected and well sought after black entertainer on Facebook gaming. I'm kind of one of those guys that's doing, the footwork and the entertaining aspect and actually trying to get in where I fit in with being black and being in the industry, especially when you don't see many people like myself who are doing it or making great things of it. So that's a little bit about me.
That is very true. My kids love to watch Twitch, for example, and I never understood the idea of watching people play, um, but it's a thing, and so having you in the industry, I think, is essential, and having kids be able to look to someone like you is very important. Um, Last but not least, I would love to introduce Kojo Kuma. He's a colleague of mine, you guys, by the way, and so definitely have an affinity for the work that he does, and I'd love for you guys to hear about it.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? My name's Kojo Kuma. I'm a game programmer at Sony Interactive Entertainment, based in San Diego. Shout out San Diego Studios. Me and Davina are both organizers for Black at PlayStation. She's the president of that organization. So I do mostly a lot of the community outreach work. I've wanted to make games for a very long time. I grew up playing games, watching my friends play games and stuff too. So it's like really funny seeing like Twitch be so popular when we used to do the same thing, like go over each other's houses and see if you could like beat a boss or whatever. But yeah, I knew I wanted to make games. I studied computer science and cinema in college, and then I just got started when I left through community gaming organizations, which I think are really important. And I started out making web games, making Flash games, Unity games, mobile games, and eventually made my way to PlayStation. And it's just been a really great ride. I love playing games and talking about them and making them.
So, Kojo, you've actually gone into the first question that I wanted to ask, but we're going to ask you to delve a little deeper. But, I'm going to start off first because I think I have probably the most outlier entry into the industry. So, the question I have for you is how did you get your first job in the game industry? What was it? Where was it? And what do you wish you had known when you applied for and obtained that first position? And so for me, I'm from the banking industry, actually. And I was really tired. I worked for a company called Washington Mutual, which is now Chase, if you guys Chase, JP Morgan Chase, if you guys know that. And so, I was really tired. I decided to put my resume on hotjobs.com for you seasoned individuals, professionals, and got a call from a recruiter right away. And he said, "Hey, I have an opportunity. It looks like you have the skill sets for um, SCEA." All I heard was EA. And so I started doing my research on Electronic Arts in Redwood City in the Bay Area. And I, was prepared. And then on my way to the interview, I realized I wasn't going to Redwood City. I was actually on my way to Foster City. And real quickly, when I got to the building, realized that I was at a Sony company. It wasn't a electronic arts company. And now I'm thinking like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because my research was on electronic arts. And the only thing I could think of is number one, my mom was praying for me. We know the power of prayer. Number two, I was hoping that I could relate to something in that interview. And hopefully the recruiter was correct that my skill set was applicable to the job description. And so I went into the job, and I tell you that God is good because I did have the skill sets. And the administrator, who was the second interviewer, we actually went to high school together. And so we had a lot to talk about. And I landed that job in 2004, and I was with my manager for 11 years before I transitioned to, still at SIE, but I transitioned to a director's role in the QA division. So that is not the traditional journey. I wouldn't recommend anyone try and get, an outlier position. Be predictable in how you go for this. And so I'd like to start with you, Rasta, and tell us, what was your first experience into the industry?
Well, when I started in the industry, it was just so as I said, I'm active duty military. That's so streaming is not really a full time thing for me, but at the
Okay,
same time, I do put in full time hours, and
that's
that's how
right.
I've been able to see a lot of success. So when I started, it was it's a very like unfamiliar experience, especially when you don't have many people to look to that kind of come from where you come from, have the background you have, or look like you, things like that. So I kind of went into it blind. Um, but again, I'm a gamer. I've always been a gamer. So as far as just hitting that go live button and just playing the game and just chatting it up with the community, it kind of it came a little easy from then on. But as you get deeper into the industry, you start to realize like there are many challenges you'll face. And a lot of people just see it as, oh, you're just playing a video game, you're just streaming. It's not that much stress. It's not that hard of a thing to do. But you pick up some traction, and you start to realize how untrue that actually is. Uh,
Right.
so there were a lot of lessons learned starting out. But I definitely, it was definitely an experience that I don't regret at all. If I could go back and do it again, I'd do it the exact same way. I learned a lot of things. I grew a lot as a person as I became a bigger streamer. So
I totally identify with what you're saying because, I came into the industry similarly, not really knowing, not really being a hardcore gamer, and, having brothers that played and loved watching them. And so I can understand getting into what your profession is and just growing from that experience. And so I love to hear from Dr. Katrina about her experience because from an education point of view, I'd love to hear how you became interested in the field itself.
So it's interesting that you said that you had an accidental entry into the industry. So earlier I talked about accidentally using The Sims as a life coach, which was one accident. I went to school online to get my master's because I was working at the time, and that's where I did using video games to foster health-promoting behaviors. My PhD was also an accident, which reminds me of it's kind of similar to your story. So I lived in Los Angeles. There's a very big game school in Los Angeles, University of Southern California, acronym USC. So I got a scholarship application or an advertisement for a scholarship in my email, and it was for computer games, young people, and mental well-being. And so I thought, oh, I'll apply. And the email address had usc.edu. Being American, I didn't see anything after the edu. So I thought, oh, USC down the street. It turns out it was the University of the Sunshine Coast in Australia because there was an .au at the end of the edu that I didn't see. So I applied and they said, hey, we'll do an interview. And then I think by then I realized Australia was somewhere and I thought it was a sister school. So I said, hey, can I just go to the main campus because I'm in LA, I'm down the street. They said, we're not affiliated, you have to move to Australia. So I went to Australia for 8 years. And that's where I finished my PhD, or that's where I completed my PhD.
Nice. Nice.
And while I was there, they started a gaming bachelor degree. I was in charge of interactive narrative because I don't program, but you can still be in the industry without being a programmer. And so that was fun. That was my entry into being officially within the game industry, or game adjacent, I suppose, games academia.
I'm kind of seeing a pattern here that all of us will. Kojo, let's see if you can save the day. Did you have a traditional roadmap into the industry?
I think it was a little traditional, but I think it's interesting though, because there's just so many ways to enter and there's so many ways you can be involved, like, because people really think you have to be an artist and a programmer, but it's a business like any other. You need financial people, you need lawyers, you need security, like really any discipline that supports a business is relevant to games. For me, I knew that I wanted to design games. And I remember looking it up on the internet a long time ago, and the path that I saw on some website was a lot of designers start as programmers or artists. And I didn't think I could draw that well. So I'm like, all right, I'll be a programmer. And I knew I was going to go to college. My parents were, very, very set on that. And at the time I was applying, there weren't a lot of game programs. There were some like game schools like DigiPen and Full Sail, but I didn't know about them too well. So I wanted to go to school and study computer science and film, because to me, games seemed like interactive cinema. So I thought it'd be like a mix. So I ended up picking NYU for that. I went there, and I think there was actually kind of a good mix, because the computer science taught me how to program. And then the cinema studies classes taught me to like talk about kind of like movies and art and whatnot. And it's the kind of conversations that game designers have too. So I think that worked out. Then my last year, when I was about to graduate, I didn't know how to get a job in the industry at all. So I went to one of my favorite comp sci professor. He's like, "Oh, you should talk to this other professor on the other side of the department." I didn't know him. I went over there. That professor wasn't there, but he had a TA there, and that guy was interested in game development too. And he said like, "Oh, you should sign up for the IGDA." And I'm like, "What is that?" He said, "It's the International Game Developers Association. They have meetups where they talk about game development, and I'll sign you up on the mailing list." I'm like, "All right, cool." So there was an event like 2 weeks later at Columbia University. I went up to that. There was a speaker there named Jesper Juhl, this dude from, I think he's Danish or something. He actually teaches at NYU now at the Game Center. And it was really cool. They were just talking about games in a way that I had never really experienced before. There was a guy in the back like filming the event. And then after it, he came up to me and said, "Hey, some of the questions you were asking are interesting. I have a company." And he gave me his card. They were making like Flash games and virtual worlds and stuff. And I ended up, emailing with him. I went in. That was my first internship. That was my foot in the door. And I've basically, been going since then. So yeah, I think that like the lesson from that is just getting in touch with like game development communities is really how I started. I recommend it for people.
Kojo, you're leading into my next question.
Sorry.
No, I think it's amazing. One of the things you guys just talked about is that there are different ways, and we are on this panel representing different entry points into the industry. And so you've touched on a great point that I want to make. The question is, what are good tools or resources, places for students to go to look for job opportunities in the game and esports industry? And you've touched upon what I think is instrumental. They have to network and
Absolutely.
go and be a part of the industry events that take place every single year. And you mentioned IGDA, which their big conference every year is Game Developers Conference. And that is the place for students to network and to meet people. They can go to the expos. I mean, are there any other resources that you guys think, and especially esports, if you guys want to chime in, any one of you want to chime in and discuss other industry ways or opportunities for people to get into the industry?
I'll just follow up on the community thing. Communities are so important. Find a local IGDA chapter. They're all over the world, all over the country. Find a local game dev community. Sometimes it's not always called IGDA, but like Toronto has their own thing, like Toronto Game Dev. I forget what it's called, but there's like Pixels and stuff like that, like a women-focused game developer group. And also, if you can't find one, start one. Like I know students that have started game development clubs in their colleges, and then they, form with other students who are interested in that sort of thing, and then that creates a community where they can find opportunities through there. So find a community or create a community. They're online communities as well, but just get together with other people that want to do the thing you want to do, and you guys will be able to move forward like in different directions together.
I want to talk about a Facebook group called Black in Gaming, and that's that's who I'm working with now. And
Nice.
all we do is try to make those links between Black people who are already in the game industry, want to be in the game industry, and basically just promote you. The other thing that I would say is there are several game jams every year.
Mhm.
You can go to a
That's
website
true.
called itch.io and join one, but there's also a global game jam every year around January. It's a great place to jump in, make a game with a team. A lot of those people will be affiliated with game companies, work with game companies. You can get your name on a published game if they decide to move forward with what you make. You can learn how to work on a team, and it's a really great experience to make a game in about 48 hours with a theme. You don't sleep. It's
Yeah.
amazing. You don't ever want to do it the rest of the year, but it's a
Yeah.
great experience to do. So I would recommend those two things.
Yeah, I know that all the big players do gyms at some point or another, and it's definitely an opportunity to gain experience too. Rasta, did you want to add something to that?
Uh, yeah, I just wanted to just piggyback off of what Kojo said. Definitely networking as a content creator, networking is our most powerful tool. Anything you're doing as a content creator usually stems off of networking or some form of networking. Whether you're talking to people in your chat, again, these are people with a bunch of different resources. They're in different professions. You honestly never know who's who you're really having a conversation with while you're gaming, or what they do, what type of connects they have. So that's big. Whether you're gaming, playing in a tournament, or signing up for any type of big event, you might have eyes on you, and people are like, hey, I've never seen this guy before, this guy or girl before. I really want to check them out. They'll end up emailing you, and then that's an opportunity you never thought you'd have, and you were actually networking when you thought you were just doing such a normal thing as a content creator. So that's definitely our most powerful tool, especially when it comes to growing or trying to gain access to more opportunities as a content creator and branch out.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe and agree with that. And one more thing I wanted to say about the Game Developers Conference. Now, for students who are college students, if you volunteer, I believe you get into the conference for free. So that's just a plug for those who want to have access to all the subject matter experts for various disciplines. And if you want to get an opportunity to go to panel talks and roundtables, volunteer and just be a part of the show. So I want to transition now. We've talked about how we've gotten into the industry. We've talked about some ways that you can network. I want to kind of change the direction, and let's talk about preparing for that interview, going into the interviewing process. um, in tech industry specifically, what makes tech industry gaming and esports jobs resumes different than your traditional company and job resumes? And also the interviewing process. We know there's a difference there, and especially if you're talking about the game industry specifically. Um, Rasta, oh, let's start with Kojo.
Okay, I can talk about games. I've only really worked in games, so like it's all I know. But like from what I understand from conversations I've had with peers, so getting a job as a programmer specifically is different than other fields in that experience is at least as valuable as academics. And I don't think that is the same in other fields. So for example, someone with a undergraduate degree in computer science and 2 years working professionally could look like a stronger candidate than someone with an undergraduate degree and a 2 years master's program, but no professional experience, right? So when you're talking about being a programmer specifically and working in tech, they're very interested in what you can actually do right now. And it's good and bad, because the problem is that in reality, when you're looking for work, you're looking to hire someone, you really want to invest in what someone can become. it can be difficult finding like actual mentorship if you're not in an internship program, if you're not really young. But at the same time, it means that if going back to school isn't necessarily an option for you, and you have a lot of projects that you're doing on the side, like as hobbyist projects, you can list those, and those can be really credible arguments for like why you're qualified for a job in your portfolio. So I think that's something that stands out, that work experience can be just as valuable as academic experience when you're applying as a programmer in games.
Thanks for that, Kojo. Hey, we have a couple of questions from our audience, and I just want to chime in with a question from Angelina Perez. And her question is, do any of you have any suggestions for those that are not traditional college students and looking at the career change? Any certain area to focus on? So I think I'm going to go with you. Well, anyone, any of you want to chime in and answer that question?
I'll chime in. This is kind of piggybacking on the answer to the last question, but when you're going into the game industry, portfolio is key. So whatever it is that you want to do, make sure that you're doing that in your spare time. They will also test you as you go in. So if you're going in as a programmer, you'll be taking a programming test. If it's QA, you'll be taking a QA test. If it's narrative, they might have you write something. But you also want a portfolio of work. So depending on whatever it is that you do decide to focus on, do that in your spare time. Make sure there's a portfolio as well as a resume. It is essential. And I didn't mention art, but obviously artists, I think, really understand that they need portfolios as well. So if you can program and you can learn a game engine like Unity or Unreal, that would be a boost. If you're going into narrative design at all, I would suggest learning Twine, because people actually want to see that you can branch and do that type of thing. But basically, those are the key things that you would want to do that would make you all around kind of ready for the game industry. But whatever it is that you decide to focus on, make sure that there's a portfolio of work and be prepared to have your skills tested during the interview process.
Thank you for that. I'm going to take one more question before we go to other questions on resumes. From Rico Pilgrim, his question is are there any tips for getting started in the game industry as a journalist?
I would say similar points to what Dr. Starks was saying before. Start writing. You could have your own game blog. There's several game blogs where you can post to. Gamasutra is a really popular one. They take contributor articles all the time. You want to have a body of work. You want to demonstrate that you can write. There are all kinds of video essays these days about game design and game mechanics and things like that. So I think, very similar to what she was saying before, you want to start doing the thing already. Create a body of work, follow other game journalists, email them, ask them how they got started, and then just start doing your own games journalism. And then when you apply for a job, you can point to what you've already done.
Rasta, do you have anything to add?
Oh no, I absolutely agree. I just, when that question pops up in my mind, I think if I were, if I wanted to get into journalism when it came to video games, I'd probably just, go out and just start writing. I'd be on Twitter, an event comes up or something I want to write a quick page about, I just go forth and do that. I'd post it to Twitter, post it to my links or my social medias, and I develop that portfolio. So then when I do want to reach out to a company that I'm interested in, I just pull that up to them and be like, hey, this is what I've done. This is my writing style. This is what I'm capable of. And and even if they say no, don't you take that as as a downfall. Learn from it, push forward, and move on and keep going. You only really learn and get better from experience.
Rasta, you make a really good point about having a portfolio. If any discipline, I think that you're going into, you should be active, whether on a social media platform or a blog of sorts. But there's internships at the publishers and game developer companies. That is a great way for you to get your foot in the door. There are PR positions that you could public relations positions where they need writers who are going to talk for the CEO, executives for the company. We have ghostwriters all the time that make us sound really good. That I love taking advantage of, is a great perk. But even game studios, they need people to support them on their websites that they have for their games. So there's a plethora of opportunity for a journalist who want to step into the video game industry. It's just a matter of you researching and deciding which avenue you want to go down. That's great. And so just continuing on with the resumes, because I want to, we could talk about how you should situate them, but like, what are some aspects that make a strong tech resume? Like, you guys are, Kojo, you're in the industry and you're probably, part of the interviewing process, even at San Diego studio. And so, like, what are you guys looking for when you see a resume?
Definitely when you're looking at resumes, when I've looked at them in the past, and I've been on both sides of it, so I can definitely talk about it. It's really important that you have experience, and then relevant experience, and then also you can convey what you've done in a way that lets the people hiring know that you're capable of what they're looking for. So if you're a student, you shouldn't have like a 5-page resume probably because like you're in school. But if you're a student, highlight the things that are relevant. If you're a computer science tutor, mention that. If you've done a bunch of game jams, mention that. If you have a website where you've done little tutorials and things like that, include that kind of work. It's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Do not include work that isn't relevant. This is definitely something I did when I was starting out because I wanted to fill up that page so I had, a job as a cashier at a snack bar, and I thought like, yeah, I've had a job before, but if it's not relevant to the type of work that you're doing, then don't include it. So it's not necessarily a good approach to, do a whole kitchen sink approach and mention everything you've ever done. You want your resume to be really tailored for the job that you want. And actually, that's another thing that probably applies across the board when you're applying for jobs. You don't want to have one resume that you send to different kinds of positions if you're applying to different kinds of positions. Like if you're applying to be a server programmer versus a graphics programmer, those should be two different resumes because those are two different skill sets within, the broad umbrella of programming. So you want to mention the type of work that's relevant to what they're looking for. You want to have the kind of keywords that they're looking for, and you want to apply specifically targeted to that position. So that can be kind of useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything to add to that?
Oh, no.
Okay, so I have another question from the audience. And I think it's fair enough that we should bring in a question about esports. And this is from Isaiah Jordanen. How do I apply for an esport team, and what is the criteria?
I'll start off with that one. So that's kind of even for content creators who have been doing it for a while who have found success. It's kind of a question that remains unanswered because again, you're at the esports team. You never really know what they're looking for. You never really know, what their criteria is, or if they're even going to see you when you reach out, if they're going to see your content. But I will say, like, if you are, so no, for one, I would say no, the esports team you are looking to, become a part of. I don't think you ever want to go into anything, even in an interview, for a job and not know anything about the company you're applying for, right? That could be a big red flag, especially if they did give you the time to, speak with them and you really don't know what they're about. Now they're just looking at you like, well, why, why do you want to do this? But I know a lot of you definitely want to network. You want to get your name out there, especially as a content creator. Whether you want to be on a professional side of the gaming and actually, play in the pro league or things like that, or you just want to represent that org as a content creator, you want to make sure you are, honoring your craft and being the best at what you're doing, right? Because at the end of the day, these esports team, they have their image, or they have their uh whatever they're trying to keep up within the public eye, and you're asking to be a part of that. So you have to be willing to give you have to give them something, you have to offer them something just as much as they can offer you, right? Nobody's going to take you on if it's only a one-sided relationship where they can only offer you something and you don't really have anything to offer them. um I know not too long ago, like FaZe Clan, they had a competition, a Phase 5 competition. I was a part of that, where they ended up only choosing 5 people to join FaZe Clan. I had ended up making top 100, but I wasn't able to move forward from then. So, sometimes, these esports teams, they're having little events, competitions where they are looking at recruiting somebody, getting somebody from the outside and bringing them in. So you definitely want to jump on those opportunities. And when you get those opportunities, you want to make the best of them. That's your time to shine. Show them what you're made of. But I don't think there's like a right or wrong way to get uh, to try to get in with esports team. You just want to give them as much to offer as they can offer you.
Hey, I want to plug BCGA as well and say, get in contact with Keisha, because she has all the relationships and networks that you guys would need in order to enter, the and Dr. Mark Williams too. If you have any questions. So we also have video questions. So let's take one of those at this time.
Hi, my name is Jamie Pickett. I'm here at Florida Memorial University. I am a graduating senior major in biology and a minor in psychology. And my question is, where do you see the success in the esports gaming industry from 4 to 5 years from now?
Anyone want to take that one?
I mean, esports gaming industry is growing so much from back in like 2010, when I was heavy into watching people on YouTube, and just not really watching streamers, but just watching people who created content on YouTube and posted videos. It's grown so much. It's become so much more diverse. I honestly just seeing it getting even more diverse, even with especially with a lot of people wanting to create their own things, and gather up that group of like-minded individuals to start something of their own, and make that in something. Social media is just boosting that up even more. The amount of people that are watching esports, the amount of traction esports is gaining off the charts, is massive. I only see that growing even more as people take it more serious, or look at it with a different point of view. Um, it's going so well, and I believe it only gets better, especially with a lot of these lot of diverse Black content creators, or Black gamers, Black industry execs just getting into it and providing their feedback.
Mhm.
So that's how I feel.
Definitely agree. Anybody else have anything else they want to add?
I wanted to jump in. I'm not an esports person, but if you want to see the heights that esports is going to, because you might have seen streamers, you might have seen YouTubers, go to YouTube and look up League of Legends World Championships and their opening ceremony. It's like the Olympics. It's huge.
Wow.
And I think that right now, I think it's in South Korea that happens. But I can, see that happening. If that happens all over the world, esports will be one of the largest forms of entertainment that we have. So that can give you an idea of where it's going. That plus more within the next 5 years.
Very, very cool. Okay, we've talked about, our careers. We've also gone down the resume. Let's talk about interviewing it in and of itself. When you're preparing for an interview, um, what do you think is necessary in preparing, I'm sorry, for an interview with a game company, a video game company, or with an esports company?
Well, for game development, you definitely want to study for the role. Make sure that you understand the kinds of problems that you'd be solving, whether you're going to be an artist, a writer, QA, producer, whatever. You should definitely understand the space. It'd be good to understand a little bit about that company specifically, like what they do, what are they known for, what is their style, what are their values, so you could speak to that sort of thing. And then also, it's advice that's really easy to say and hard to practice, but stay calm. Just try to stay calm, try to stay honest. And it's really important to know that you want to convey your ability to solve problems. So even if you don't know something in the moment, you want to demonstrate that I can find this out. I can figure this sort of thing out. So I think that kind of attitude and that kind of tenacity is really important in game development because we're always doing things that we don't know how to do. But that shouldn't, daunt you or overwhelm you. That should just, give you an opportunity to learn something new. So I think that it's just really important to stay as calm as you can, talk through the problem that you're working through, let them know how you think, communicate clearly, ask questions, and and prepare beforehand. So
Yeah,
that's what I say.
I want to add to that and say, be prepared to be asked questions about soft skills like
Hmm.
collaboration,
Yeah.
how well you solve problems with others, conflict management, critical
Hmm.
thinking type questions too. I mean, I know game industry interviewers are notorious for asking puzzle questions like, like if you were working for the electric company and you had to service for a population the size of San Diego, how would you go about doing that? I mean, and you're like, well, how do I even start? So be prepared for the unthinkable. And the other thing you can do, there's so much information about, for example, how to interview with Google, how to interview with Netflix. There is all on YouTube. I would definitely use social media as a way to look up various interviewing preparation styles. Anyone else have anything to add to that?
I just wanted to add that content creation is a little bit less technical because to a certain extent, you're a public figure. A lot of
Mhm.
the things you do when you post content is based off of your personality. So there's not really, specific line by line, black dot guidelines you should follow. If you are like, an entertainer or, a content creator, a person who just posts videos or, streams. So it's important to be yourself. I've learned in my experience as a content creator that uh being genuine, and especially with the people that watch you, and I feel like the same would be said for any type of interview process you're doing with, a bigger company or a company that can offer you an opportunity. Being genuine and being yourself is honestly the most important thing because people can kind of see through that when you're not being genuine with them, or you're putting on this persona, or and whatnot. And that's something you don't really want to go into an interview with a company with, because that could actually be detrimental to what you're actually trying to accomplish with that company. So
Yeah,
definitely be yourself, and remain true to your personality.
I I believe that 100%. You don't want to do the fake it till you make it in the interview. You really don't. You want to be authentic, and if you don't know the answer to a question, fess up to that. Rasta. There's been so many times when I've been in interviews and individuals come in with, they've been able to fake the resume to look great, but they can't actually act through the actual interview itself. And so um, interviewers will cut the interview short if they see some sort of, or you don't have the qualifications that they're looking for. Okay, so we have another question that I think is really important because game developing companies or esports is not just you're an esports player or you are a creative person or a programmer, right? There's a business aspect to the video game and esports industry. And so I have a question by Evan Graham. The question is, what advice would you give students with a business background? How would a portfolio look for those candidates? I can answer this because I am on the business side. And of course, I had a very untraditional way of entering the industry. But what I can say for my team is predominantly a support team. And so they consist of business analysts, and they consist of QA analysts and support teams and vendor management skills. These are all types of disciplines that you see in various other industries. And so for that, you don't need to have necessarily a gaming background. It'd be nice if you come to the interview knowing what game you've played, and you even if it's a mobile game, right? So I was playing like the was that I can't even think of it now, but I like playing mobile games right now more so than playing the console games. Don't I'll probably get in trouble for that, but I am playing Spider-Man Miles Morales. Okay, I'm plugging that. I'm trying to, but the controller I get really confused with. Hand coordination not so great. So Atari person here, Miss Pac-Man. Anyway, so come with some knowledge of a game, but however, you don't necessarily need to have a core gamer background to get into the game industry. You do need to come with the skills, and you are going to be competing. So you probably should have a degree of sorts so that you can compete. And it wouldn't even hurt to have some other certifications under your belt as well, because you can be sure that everyone else coming to the table with their resumes and interested in that position will have experience, will have some sort of certification, and you want to be able to stick out from the rest. Anyone have anything to add to that?
I think that we've got some big AAA companies with that make games, but it's also kind of entrepreneurial in nature, and that anyone can make them. So you could also make a business out of helping independent game companies start their own businesses as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, so do we have another video question that we can add?
Hello, my name is Wane Onuma. I'm a graduate student in the School of Public Health, Jackson State University. My question for today is, what are the qualifications to become an esports brand manager?
It's a great question. Does anyone want to take, Rasta, you want to take that one on?
So I don't have much experience with what it would take to become an esports brand manager, because again, it depends on that organization and what they're actually looking for, and what type of work their brand managers are actually partaking in. But I do think that again, that just plays heavily into understanding the brand that you are trying to work with, and knowing what they require, whether that whether that means that you should try to get in touch with someone who is already a part of that team, and already a brand manager there, and just kind of trying to pick their brain about things, or even following on social, just trying to see what they're about, learn more about them, or that people in that specific position. I think that's the if you don't have the correct answer, the correct layout to go forth with that, I think that's the best way. That's how I personally would probably go about it. But again, I don't really have much experience in the area of actually being a brand manager. I have worked with a few brand managers, and when it comes to that, it's just if you are interested in being an esports brand manager, I would say know the people that you are trying to manage. For one, I can't tell you how many times I've been emailed and talked to about people, and it just like even in their email, you could tell it's just such a copy and paste format. It's not really directed towards you, and I don't feel like that's the right way to go about it. So you definitely want to kind of know, the people that you're trying to reach out to.
Yeah. And I'm also gonna. Oh, Kojo, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just gonna follow up. I agree with what Ross is saying, and it's also not my realm, but I would just think studying traditional brand management, for like other
Hmm.
sports teams, like how do the Lakers manage their brand, how do the Patriots manage their brand? Think about like traditional marketing, because like it is just an extension of something that exists already in a new context. So study the things that get familiar with the things that already exist, marketing and brand management in other traditional contexts, and then also get familiar with esports. And since it's new, you could figure out what kind of new stuff to do with that. But I would say look up traditional brand management first, and then get familiar with esports and figure out where they cross.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, with time running out, there's about two questions that I think we should take. The first one is, who are the top three companies that you think are committed to hiring Black people in the industry, and why? I hope you can each give, your thoughts on this. I'm just going to say, I know, being president for Black at PlayStation, we are working extremely hard. We are dedicated to working with organizations such as BCGA and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. And we are working to bring internship opportunities, mentorship opportunities, scholarships. BCGA specifically, we're working on some phenomenal programs that you'll hear about in the near future. And the one thing we want to do is make pathways for kids starting, in middle school and high school through the university process. And then working with organizations such as Black in Gaming, where they have a network of professionals so that you can have career development. So we want a pathway all the way into the industry so you guys can network. And it's not just Sony, it's also Microsoft and the developers like Niantic and EA. And so you have a network of people within the industry that you can work with. And so SIE is one of them. I know Microsoft is also, always, working, and Riot Games is another one. So those, I guess, are my three.
I mean, I can 100% add one for sure. I know Facebook Gaming has been doing a big part, and especially being inclusive towards blacks in the industry. They've recently just took on that Black Gaming Creator Program, which is basically a wealth of resources, and even I think they allocated about over $10 million in a fund that would actually be able to go towards black content creators or black individual business owners, and in order to help them develop their craft, whether it's making their stream better or going full time and taking the leap to go full time. So Facebook Gaming has done its part. They've taken me on as a mentor for the program. So I think if you're trying to get into content creation side, there's a lot of support that myself and a lot of my peers have received from Facebook Gaming, as far as going forward and becoming, being content creators and working in that side of the industry. So that's definitely a big one for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of the big players are making are seeking opportunities to add more Black and brown people or BIPOC people to their ranks, and I think all that's admirable. Definitely PlayStation's been making a concerted effort in that regard. I can't really speak to other companies, like, honestly, because like I don't work there and stuff, but I think that like outside of just like the big companies that we've all heard of, there are also targeted programs specifically about increasing technology opportunities for Black and brown people, young people. Some organizations that we work with, particularly Gameheads, for example, is an organization based in Oakland in the Bay Area, where they have game development, like music and audio, and like cybersecurity, like training for people in the community. And actually, it's now spread out to the whole country and world since the pandemic. But that is really like a community focused thing. There's a Hidden Genius project we work with in the Bay Area. There's Black Girls Code. So there's like you know, in addition to like all the big companies we know about, there are also a lot of these smaller companies that have these really focused visions, and there are also a lot of entrepreneurs out there. You know, people like Rasta, people like Jazzy Guns, people like MKBHD that are just entrepreneurs doing their own thing and creating their own like spaces where, you know, they can flourish with their own kind of talent and perspective. So I think that, you know, we can also approach it with an entrepreneurial perspective, and there are lots of lanes to make progress, like in the big companies with the entrepreneurs and just kind of connecting everybody. So that's how I look at it.
There's
Very
also the makers aspect. So one of the AAA companies I was going to mention is Niantic, which was already mentioned, but also companies like Epic. They're actually not necessarily. It's not that they don't hire Black people, but their initiatives are more towards creating Black makers. So Epic has a grant if you're doing anything with Unreal, and also if you're doing anything with Core, which is another platform. And I think there's a company called Kowloon Knights who also has a diversity initiative to help Black people become their own companies and fund their own project. So that's another aspect as well.
Very cool. Yeah, and SIE just committed $1 million to 4 organizations, those of which you heard Kojo mention, which is Game Heads, Black in Gaming, Black Girls Code, and Hidden Genius, the Hidden Genius Project. So, you know, the companies are putting their money where their mouth is, and I think that's pretty exciting. The last question that I want to ask before we end today is a question we got from the audience, Aaron Marquise Watson. The question is, on the topic of portfolios, how would that work for people that work in audio? Would it help to have a SoundCloud and or sharing your music on social media?
Okay, this I can speak to because a friend of mine is actually into game audio. A lot of that is tied to programming, so definitely do have a SoundCloud, have a portfolio. Also, do game jams like Dr. Stark was talking about. Get familiar with some specific game audio tools. That's Wise, that's
Right.
Fmod, and that's also the specific audio tools they have in Unity and they have in Unreal. So make some games with some specific audio things like how do you loop a sound, how do you get multiple tracks playing, how do you mess with like the volume and whatnot. It's tied to the realm of programming, so get familiar with like audio implementation and those tool sets, and definitely share your music, like share your loops, you know, follow game audio makers and stuff like that. So definitely do that sort of thing for your portfolio.
You took the words out of my mouth. I started in the sound department for SIE. Yes, and so, you know, the thing I can add to that is definitely have a sound portfolio of sound assets that you've created. There are various libraries that you can, you know, collect different sounds and you can pull it together. Gems is the way that you can introduce your audio assets into games. And Kojo is spot on with WWise and Fmod, but I want to actually add Pro Tools is another real main important tool that you should probably know. Yeah, so audio, my that was really my entrance into the gaming industry. So, you know, with that being said, do you guys have any closing remarks that you want to make to just, you know, give some words to the audience on what they can do to better their journey, their roadmap, shorten that roadmap into getting into the industry?
Uh, I would just like to add, definitely just as a young professional, just document everything you're doing. Stay true to your craft. Do things. Always be doing things to better your craft. In whatever aspect that is, and document those things. Put those things into a portfolio. Now, everything that you're a part of, everything big that you know you feel like is a big accomplishment. You know, document that. So that when the time comes for you to, you know, put that information out, you absolutely have it all on hand. And because Lord knows we definitely need more people like us in the industry, especially just going forward and conquering all the challenges that we face when it comes to getting our foot in the door.
Yeah, you know, and just about the whole process, um, a powerful resume should leap off the pages Every line in your resume should have value and contribute to convincing the employer to hire you. And do your research about the job you're applying for and make sure your resume is relevant to that job. And so we're in a pandemic era where video conferencing platforms like Zoom and MS Teams and GoToMeeting, they're all relevant because people are interviewing on those platforms. So make sure you're camera ready. Don't have crazy political, vulgar, or racy items in view, and dress appropriate. And guys, clean up your social media portfolios or profiles, because hiring managers, they are looking and taking a peek at what you guys are saying and doing on social media. So that's my take. And any more words? Those are my closing words.
Yeah, I'd say go for it.
Okay.
Go for it. Don't count yourself out before you start. Find game communities, do game jams. Yeah, so do all that.
And for me, there's a phrase with writing that says "writers write," and I would extend that to say game designers make games. So you have to do things to get hired as a game designer, but you don't have to do anything to become one. So start making now, and it'll help you in interviews, because you can talk about scope. You can talk about the way that things relate to each other. You can talk about aspects of making games because you've made them. So go ahead and start.
Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to us and the audience. It has been a pleasure to meet you guys in person or over video conferencing. But thank you so much for your time.
Magnificent. You all have been absolutely amazing. Thank you, Dr. K, Kojo. Oh my God, Rasa La Vista. You all killed it. I need that black hoodie. It goes with my earrings. Yes, I love that. In your screen, I just fucking want to reach out and touch you. I love that.
Thank you.
My superwoman, my gaming meganista. I love you. Amazing panel. Thank you so much. Tech versus everybody. Black versus everybody. We got this. Thank you so much for everybody for the amazing questions. To our students who sent in the pre-recorded questions, to everybody who's been providing their chats, and more importantly, they're asking their information in this dialogue today. I want to thank everybody. Please go ahead and go to the polls. Let us know what you thought about this panel. Also, let us know if you on the earlier panels, what you thought about the panels. Thank you so much for today. I hope you all can stay around and join us for the rest of the day. We so appreciate you. To PlayStation, SIE, Blackstep PlayStation, the entire family. You all are amazing. I thank you for sacrificing part of your day on Saturday, but more importantly, be a part of us making history in gaming and esports and during Black History Month. We salute you, and please enjoy the rest of your day and or weekend. And if you can, like I said, stay around and join us.
Thank you. Thank you, Keisha. It's been great.
Thank you.